Here are the top stories on the hour. 8 killed after mine explosion in Somalia. 6 killed after knife attack in China. US President Joe Biden to have talks with Rishi Sunak ahead of NATO summit. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. The Deputy of Security Affairs of the municipality of Bolu-Badi town disclosed to local media that a mine was planted near the town and exploded when a car carrying civilians was passing by. The official stated that the explosion killed all the passengers, who were 8 members of 2 families. He also accused the Al-Shabaab terrorist group of being behind the incident, although the group did not immediately claim responsibility for the blast. This group is responsible for many explosions that occur in Somalia. Meanwhile, 6 people have been killed and 1 injured in an early morning knife attack at a kindergarten in southern China. Local police disclosed in a statement posted on social media that a 25-year-old man has been detained over a fatal incident in the town of Lianchan in Guangdong province. The man began his rampage at 7:40 a.m. The victims included 1 teacher, 2 parents, and 3 children. Attacks on school children have been a persistent problem in China for many years. Over a decade ago, China's then Premier Wen Jiabao went on TV after a spate of attacks to promise better security at schools and efforts to tackle underlying problems. The attacks have continued and often spark mass anger, although strict gun control laws mean attackers usually carry knives or homemade explosives. As heavy rains continue to wreak havoc on Japan's southwestern island of Kyushu, authorities have issued the highest level warnings and ordered evacuations. Authorities in Japan ordered thousands of people to leave their homes after landslides triggered by the region's heaviest rain ever killed at least 1 person and left 3 missing on Monday. Japan's southwestern island of Kyushu saw torrential rains unleash landslides, prompting authorities in parts of Fukuoka and Oita prefectures to issue the highest level warning for heavy rain. A 77-year-old woman in Fukuoka Prefecture was killed when a landslide hit her home at night. In Saga Prefecture, 3 people were reported as missing after a landslide hit 2 homes. The heavy downpour also forced suspension of the Shinkansen bullet train services that runs between western Hiroshima and Fukuoka. Japan's meteorological agency has urged people to leave their homes and take shelter as the heavy rains could unleash floods and more landslides across the Fukuoka and Oita regions. Meanwhile, heavy rains spurred extreme flooding in New York's Hudson Valley that killed at least 1 person, swamped roadways and forced road closures on Sunday night as much of the rest of the northeast U.S. braced for the extreme rainfall. As the storm moved east, the National Weather Service extended flash flood warnings into Connecticut, including the cities of Stamford and Greenwich, before creeping into Massachusetts. Forecasters stated that some areas could get as much as 5 inches of rain. In New York's Hudson Valley, rescue teams were attempting to retrieve the body of a woman in her 30s who drowned after being swept away while trying to evacuate her home. 2 other people escaped. The rains have hit some parts of New York harder than others, but officials stated that communities in the east of the state should brace for torrential rains and possible flash flooding. Similarly, India is facing the prospect of further torrential rainfall across swathes of the country over the coming days, increasing the risk of widespread damage after the wettest New Delhi day in 4 decades on Sunday left millions wading through knee-deep water. According to Press Trust of India, across the nation's north, 19 people have been killed in the deluge. On social media, users shared dramatic footage of landslides, flash floods tearing through villages, and rivers raging in Himachal Pradesh, one of the worst-hit states. In the country's capital, shared images showed city streets turned into fast-moving waterways. one of the main weather stations in Delhi, recorded roughly 6 inches of rain in a 24-hour period ending at 8:30 a.m. on Sunday, the highest for a single day in July since 1982, raising water levels in the Yamuna River. It prompted the state to shut schools, while local officials sought to evacuate those living near the water. The Indian Meteorological Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall in the next 2 days in most parts of northern India, including the western Himalayan region, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. The weather agency has issued a red alert for Himachal Pradesh and a yellow alert for Delhi, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. A top commander of Myanmar's armed separatist group Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army has been killed in a gun battle with Bangladesh police on Monday morning in the southeast Coast Bazar coast. Rashid, the commander of the 14th Armed Police Battalion, disclosed over the phone that law enforcement received information that about 100 ARSA armed men planned to attack Rohingya refugee camp number 17 on Monday morning in retaliation for the death of its 5 men in a gun battle with the Rohingya Solidarity Organization on Friday. Rashid stated that when the APBN force arrived at the Rohingya camp, the ARSA militants opened fire on them, adding that the militants were forced to flee after nearly 2 hours of fighting, leaving behind their dead commander, later identified as Hossein Maji. He further disclosed that the police have also recovered arms, ammunition, money, and a walkie-talkie. The APBN has been on high alert and increased security around the Rohingya refugee camps since Friday's deadly gun battle between the ARSA and RSO, which killed 5 of the former group's men. According to the official, the situation has now been brought under control with law enforcement in command of the refugee camps. A group of South Korean opposition lawmakers on Monday departed for Japan to protest its planned discharge of radioactive wastewater from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant into the ocean. 9 lawmakers of the main opposition Democratic Party and 2 liberal independents flew to Japan earlier in the day for a 3-day trip. The lawmakers were quoted by local media as saying that they would meet with politicians, experts, and civic activists in Japan to strengthen their solidarity and promote South Korea's opposition to the nuclear wastewater release. They vowed to do their best to prevent the Fukushima wastewater discharge through international cooperation. After arriving in Tokyo, the lawmakers held a protest rally in front of the official residence of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in cooperation with Japanese civic activists. The South Korean lawmakers plan to make a protest visit to the International Atomic Energy Agency regional office in Tokyo and hold a sitting protest in front of the National Diet of Japan. They also plan to announce a joint statement with a group of Japanese lawmakers on Tuesday opposing the release plan, hold a press conference with foreign media outlets in Japan, and a protest march on Wednesday. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the North Ministry of National Defense stated that the United States has intensified espionage activities beyond the wartime level with provocative flights made by U.S. spy aircraft over 8 straight days this month and 1 reconnaissance plane intruding into its airspace over the East Sea several times. The spokesperson disclosed in a statement that there is no guarantee that such shocking accident as downing of the U.S. Air Force strategic reconnaissance plane will not happen in the East Sea of Korea. The spokesperson cited past incidents when Pyongyang shot down U.S. aircraft and warned the United States would pay for its fanatically staged air espionage. The statement also slammed the planned deployment of U.S. strategic nuclear assets to the Korean Peninsula as the most undisguised nuclear blackmail to North Korea, saying it posed a grave threat to regional and global security. North Korea has conducted multiple sanctions-busting launches this year, including test-firing its most powerful intercontinental ballistic missiles and in May attempting to put a military spy satellite into orbit. The U.S. president is due to meet Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and King Charles III discussing the Ukraine war, clean energy, and Brexit. The stop-off is a diplomatic gesture of goodwill, which the White House says was designed to further strengthen the close relationship between the two nations. It comes just days after Biden's administration announced its controversial decision to send cluster munitions to Ukraine to combat the Russian invasion. Washington stated on Friday it would supply Kiev with the widely banned bombs as part of a new €730 million security package. Several NATO members oppose the use of cluster bombs, and Sunak has already made the UK's position clear. Finally, a second student has died 3 days after a Land Rover crashed into an end-of-term tea party at a private primary school in South London. The Metropolitan Police disclosed in a statement that 80-year-old Nuria Shajad died at St. George's Hospital on Sunday evening after being severely injured in the incident at the study prep in Wimbledon on Thursday. 80-year-old Selina Lau also died at the scene of the incident on Thursday, in which a number of others, including a 7-month-old baby, were injured and taken to the hospital. A woman in her 40s remains in the hospital in a serious condition. And that is a wrap on the world news on VOP TV. We would like you to subscribe and engage us on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms at VOP TV Live. I am Kayla Abraham. VOP Business Show coming up next.